I'm Allie.
And I'm Allie.
And this is Allie Squared! Today we'll be giving you a crash course on this majestic dog-like, deer-like creature known as the Maine wolf.
Scientifically known as the Cryozion brachyurus. Despite their title, these animals are not considered true wolves, nor are they considered true foxes.
Despite the fact that they clearly look like a fox, and wolf is in the name.
They're classified under their own distinct species, and they are the largest member of the family Canidae in South America.
The Maine wolf can be found in Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Brazil. Unfortunately, despite efforts to preserve the population, they are considered threatened by the International Union of the Conservation of Nature.
There is a variety of circumstances and factors that have caused this beautiful species to become threatened. Currently, there are only 23,600 adults left in the wild, and the most prevalent danger is related to habitat loss and fragmentation.
And if that wasn't worse enough, the grasslands that the Maine wolves call home is being diminished by farmers that are using the land for grazing and growing crops.
This causes an even bigger problem because farmers feel as though they are obligated to kill the Maine wolves in order to protect their poultry from being eaten.
Other factors that are threatening the Maine wolf can include domestic dogs that spread diseases, road accidents, hunting for sport, and for mystical qualities. Now, even though in Bolivia, Paraguay, and Brazil there are prohibitions in place to prevent the hunting of the Maine wolf, they still face death in the hands of humans in multiple reasons and different ways.
Now, going back to hunting for mystical beliefs, certain people actually believe that the eyes, skin, and tail of the Maine wolf help them obtain mystical qualities.
So now, let's get into the basic anatomy of this majestic creature.
The adult Maine wolf is about 1 meter in height, and they weigh about 20 to 25 kilograms. They are known for their extremely long legs, which allow for them to move and see over tall grass when hunting. They also have large sensitive ears that are used to listen and catch prey that are not visible to them. As newborns, their coats are dark brown in color that lines into a reddish brown as they mature. They develop a long black mane, hence their name, that fluffs up in the presence of a threat in order to appear bigger. And they also have black coloring in their mouth, back, and legs, and a white chin and throat and tail.
As for their internal physiology, the Maine wolf is very similar to the domestic dog. Going into their dental anatomy, they have teeth adept to both mechanically break down meat and plants, which are both included in their omnivorous diet. Their upper carnassial teeth are reduced in size, their incisors are weaker, and their canines are long and thin, suitable for their diet of small animals. The digestive system in particular is especially alike to the domestic dog in structure and function. Designed to efficiently break down carbohydrates and sugars, the only difference is the cecum is slightly smaller and simpler. Okay, so now, let's get down to business. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. What?
Oh. Anyways, let's get back on track. When it comes to the Maine wolves, sexual dimorphism is not apparent. Maine wolves are mostly solitary animals, although they have a tendency to mate for life. The female Maine wolf, also known as the male Maine wolf, also known as the sire, only associate with each other during breeding season, which is from April to June, and when they're raising their pups. Females will only be in heat, in estrus, once a year for 5 days, and males only produce sperm around breeding season.
So Maine wolves use vocalization and scent to communicate. During breeding season, these communications are increased. Now, if you're wondering what a Maine wolf vocalization sounds like, here's a clip. Female gestation periods last about 65 days, and the Maine wolf can have as little as 1 to 5 pups. Both parents play an equal role in protecting, grooming, and feeding their pups for about a year. After the year, the pups are considered sexually mature and are able to go out on their own. Now, Maine wolves generally like to move their pups around. Because of this, it's important to have several nesting boxes.
Now, moving on to nutritional requirements, Maine wolves are classified as omnivores. They eat a variety of food items, both plant and meat material. Their main diet consists of small mammals such as rabbits, armadillos, guinea pigs, reptiles, and birds. Maine wolves eat a lot of lobelia berries, also known as the fruit of the wolf. This is a large fruit which makes up for 50% of their diet. The lobelia berry plays a role in protecting against the giant kidney worm, which is a parasite that affects many Maine wolves.
In the past, Maine wolves in captivity have been fed a strict carnivorous diet. This caused issues in fecal formation or loose stool. It also caused something called cystinuria, which is the poor absorption of amino acids, causing kidney, bladder, or urethral stone formation. It is recommended that Maine wolves only receive 20 to 25% of animal protein. Now, this could be in the form of eggs, meat, or live prey. They should also be offered produce, such as fruits and vegetables. In order to ensure that they are taking in an adequate amount of vitamins and minerals, a nutritionally complete commercial food may be given and is recommended to make up 60 to 70% of their dry matter intake.
When considering housing requirements, using proper housing design is critical when caring for Maine wolves. Since they are relatively large animals, when being housed in outdoor enclosures, the ideal size would be around 10,860 square feet. Because they are a solitary species, they need to be provided with visual barriers and areas to hide that offer a sense of privacy from the public if necessary. Enclosures can also be surrounded by either a dry moat or a chain link fence.
Now, as for enclosure requirements, the Maine wolf enjoys an open habitat, and because of their long legs, they require tall grasslands to hide in. They also like places like low scrub forest edges and swampy areas. All vegetation in their enclosures should be live and natural, and they also need access to clean drinking water in the form of ponds or streams. Along with that, they need somewhere indoors that they can go to in order to create their own den, especially if it gets too cold. Maine wolves usually need around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, with their pups needing 45. Thorough cleaning in these enclosures is very important for the prevention of diseases and parasites. It's because of this that any food or defecation waste should be removed daily. The enclosure must also allow for proper ventilation.
There are many behaviors that are innate to the Maine wolf. They mark their territory with strong-smelling urine and feces. They tend to place their feces in areas that are elevated and noticeable along the boundary of their territory. Urine is also used in a similar way to establish their territorial boundaries. Sometimes it is even used to mark their food. Gross. The Maine wolf has 3 distinct vocalizations. They do not howl as some people may assume. Instead, they emit a loud roar bark. Along with using the roar bark for breeding, they also pair it with a warning growl to warn predators away. The last vocalization they use would be a high-pitched whine as a form of greeting. When hunting, they will often tap the ground with their front paws as a method to tempt the prey out in order to pounce to catch it. Lastly, Maine wolves are nocturnal and normally hunt during night or at dawn or dusk hours, and they opt to rest during the day.
When it comes to enrichment requirements, which is considered important for any animal in captivity, the Maine wolf can use either food, toys, or environmental enrichments. Now, there are 2 ways that food can be used as enrichment for the Maine wolf. It can either be put in a tray and left out, or it can be scattered around their enclosure. The food can be left in holes in the ground or in holes in trees. Food can also be hidden within vegetation. The Maine wolf will receive food with their muzzle and paws.
Scattering the food gives them a sense of hunting for their meal in the same way that they would in the wild, using scent. This provides the animal with mental stimulation. Toys such as rope that has knots at both ends, bones, chew toys, PVC pipes, or balls are good tools to incorporate enrichment. Incorporating food and toys together by placing food within certain toys provides a valuable enrichment requirement. For example, a seedless pumpkin filled with blood, or ice blocks with frozen food inside. These methods help increase activity and mental stimulation, as well as allowing the Maine wolves to carry out natural feeding behaviors.
Toys should be left in their enclosure overnight so that they don't have the stress of being observed while they play. Lastly, maned wolves' enclosures should include topography of low and high areas. Plant life should consist of tall grass, live trees, bushes, and shrubs. These plants should be hardy enough to allow for scent marking. Some additional natural items that can be included are rocks, stumps, logs, leaves, and branches. Variation can be provided by changing the location of these objects every so often. The goal is to mimic the natural environment of the maned wolf as much as possible in order to maintain proper environmental enrichment. This allows for natural behaviors such as searching through tall grass or scent marking.
Like many animals, there are safety concerns that are associated with the maned wolf, as well as proper ways to handle and restrain them. In general, the most widely used tool for capture and restraint is a catch box. They can be placed at the doors of an enclosure for easy access. Since the maned wolves are known to be timid and modest creatures, in most cases, there is no need to use anesthesia when restraining them. However, anesthesia may be mandatory if a procedure requires the maned wolf to sit for long periods of time. If minor procedures are needed, equipment such as capture poles, nets, and squeeze cages can be used. The maned wolf can be trained with operant conditioning to minimize stress during handling and restraint.
The last thing I want to touch on about the maned wolf is their health. Unfortunately, the maned wolf is prone to a few diseases. Preventative measures such as proper nutrition and care can be put into place in order to reduce these risks. The maned wolf has been known to develop gingival infections. This is due to the fact that their diet consists of mainly soft meats, which do not perform that scraping action on their teeth, and therefore do little to provide adequate cleaning. Providing dry food like commercial food or bones can aid in the removal of the tartar.
Maned wolves can become subject to a condition known as cystinuria. This is a metabolic disorder that causes the amino acid cysteine to not be reabsorbed properly in the renal or intestinal systems. This causes a sand to form in the kidney or bladder, which leads to blockage or rupture in the urinary tract. Sounds painful. Having cystinuria causes the maned wolf to be more susceptible to the giant kidney worm parasite. The main reason that these animals develop this disorder is a strictly meat-based diet while in captivity. Eating only meat lowers the urinary pH, which makes it difficult to dissolve any excess cysteine.
This is why it is so important to lower the amount of protein that the maned wolf consumes and increase the amount of produce. As mentioned before, the lobelia berry can help prevent the development of both cystinuria and parasites.
Finally, many maned wolves are at risk of parasitic infestation, in particular from the giant kidney worm. Upon ingestion of a host, this bug will infect the right kidney of the maned wolf. This causes severe inflammation and, in some cases, degeneration of the kidney. Eventually, the kidney will fail, and this can be fatal.
Whew! Well, that was a lot of information to take in, but we hope you learned something during our little crash course about the maned wolf.
Thanks for joining us on another successful educational journey. We will see you next time on
Alley Squared.